All right, and this is us back with Max Sullivan again.
How you doing, Tom? You all right?
Splendid, and you're?
Yeah, doing very well. Doing very well, thank you, mate. Right, I'll start sharing. Hang on. Okay, lovely. How's that seem, mate? Can you see my screen all right?
I can see your screen perfectly, yeah.
Brilliant. Right.
I feel like I might be a bit too close, but
so we're just going to talk about some different lens options today and treatments. It's a little bit less intense and sciencey than what we've spoken about before. So it's a little bit lighter today. We'll touch on the science behind things a little bit somewhere in the middle, but it's quite a nice light one today. But obviously, same as any other week, if anyone wants us to break it down in more detail, just comment or send a message over and we can do that at any time for you. So we'll start by talking about different lens types. Now, probably the most basic one would be single vision lenses. And these types of lenses are designed to correct your vision at only one focal distance only. So you're only going to wear a single vision lens for one specific task as such, watching the TV, driving, that kind of thing. And the lens only covers, well, the one prescription will cover the entire lens itself. And as I say, it's used for people or patients who require spectacles for distance tasks, driving, TV, as I've said, reading, so just close up reading the newspaper, or intermediate. And that's something that some people may not have heard of before, the term intermediate glasses. And that tends to be the awkward middle distance between your distance and your near vision, such as laptop, computer work, that kind of thing. Single vision lenses are very, very good, but there are other options as well that can be explored if a particular person needs to cover more than one focal distance at a time, and we can discuss that next. The first type of lens we can do if you're looking at more than one focal distance in a lens is a varifocal. Another word for varifocal is progressive lenses, so some people might know it as a progressive lens rather than a varifocal. And these lenses are designed in order to give clear vision at all focal lengths. So as you can see here in the diagram I've attached, you have your distance vision at the top of the lens with arm's length or intermediate, as I said earlier, in the center or the middle of the lens, with your close-up reading work in the bottom. Okay. You can also get occupational varifocals as well, where the idea of the lens is very similar. It's just that the distances that you have in the lens are weighted slightly differently. So you've got a far bigger portion for your screen work, a similar kind of portion for your close-up reading work, with a lesser portion for your distance. And these occupational varifocals are designed for people that spend a lot of time in the office, for example, looking at a screen, perhaps going down to something close up to right. But these occupational varifocals are also really, really good for people that sit on front of the computer a lot of the time. We would never suggest driving, that kind of thing, in these lenses. If you're a big driver, you're going to want to stick in your regular varifocals. Okay. Originally, the lenses were invented in 1959, so they're a fairly new lens. But they're very, very good. They work really well. And in particular in the last few years, of all the technology we've got coming in, creating lenses, we've been able to produce some pretty good lenses. So if you take the lenses that were first invented in terms of varifocals and compare it to what we've got now, they are substantially better now than what we had 61 years ago.
If you just compare the types of varifocals that, you know, when me and you were working together, the varifocals that we had then and the varifocals we have now, there's quite a leap, isn't there?
Spot on, and it's only been a couple of years really, so it really shows just how quickly we can move in terms of producing better lenses. I mean, yeah, it's been probably about 2 years since me and you have worked together, and in that time we've seen substantially better lenses come through. So yeah, bang on. I mean, the way is quick, we can move on this pretty quick, so it's quite good really, and that's only in a 2-year gap. So you can imagine just how much they've improved in 61 years from 1959. So that's no, it's really good. Varifocals itself, and the reason why we have a varifocal, it's the solution for a condition known as presbyopia. And I won't touch on this too much because I'm hoping to do a video about this on its own in the next couple of weeks. But what presbyopia is, it's the person's ability or the loss of a person's ability to read things close up without the need for having glasses, and when they lose the ability to accommodate for different focal distances. And as I say, I'm going to touch upon that in the next couple of weeks anyway, so a video will be coming about that one there. So that's varifocals in a nutshell. Moving on to bifocals. These lenses are designed to correct sight for distance and near vision in a similar way that varifocals do. And similarly to varifocals, they are also a solution for the condition presbyopia as well. Now, in your standard sort of type of bifocal, your top part of the lens that I'm hovering the mouse over here is dedicated to your distance vision, with your segment here at the bottom dedicated to near vision. However, we can tailor a bifocal to suit you at any focal distance. So say, for example, you wanted your distance in the top, but your computer intermediate prescription in the segment, we can do that as well. That's the good thing about bifocals, is that they can be tailored to suit your own personal needs. And that's why I quite like working with bifocals, because if you've got something quite particular coming in who needs something for a certain working distance, we can tailor your lenses for that, which is quite nice as well.
I actually personally I think, you know, when I get to the stage where I need 2 focal lengths, I think I'll probably go bifocals. I think they just look
great.
They look more classic, don't they?
Oh yeah, they're definitely more of a sort of a classic designer lens to a varifocal. I was reading up about these in the week, and I think it was Benjamin Franklin, which everyone says is the guy who invented the bifocal, and I think they date back to around 1760. So if you go back to varifocal, it was 1959. So you can see just how old, well, just how newer a varifocal in comparison to a bifocal. But as I say, they work so well, and it's not just this particular design of bifocal. If you can see that segment in the picture, there's so many different types of segment, shape, and size. We can tailor these lenses to just about anyone, which is what I quite like about a bifocal.
I think they tend to be a bit more interesting. I mean, just in the, you know, while you were talking about bifocals, you mentioned Benjamin Franklin, also supposedly the inventor of a type of bifocal called a Franklin split.
That's
where basically the prisms are different in both, and therefore they get shifted over. It's almost like the segment is a second lens inserted into the lens rather than an overlay.
It's like 2 individual lenses together in one
together
really.
in
it's really good.
Holy matrimony.
That's it, yeah. But we don't really see a lot of those nowadays. I mean, I've been doing this for about 5-6 years now, and I've only ever seen one Franklin split in the person.
One that I made.
That was the one that you made. Yeah, it was.
Yeah. That's actually I've seen that one, and I've done one in a rimless since.
Oh right, okay.
And I've got to say, doing it in a rimless, I feel like I'm possibly the best glazer in the world now.
Yeah, I could probably hold you to that after hearing that. I reckon I could hold you to that. Yeah.
It's not easy.
Not an easy job. No, I can imagine. But no, they're really interesting. You don't come across them.
Yeah. The other thing is trifocals.
And you jumped the gun on that one, so we've got that.
Oh, there we go.
Again, this is something that isn't where we are in the world. We don't use them quite so much. As far as I'm aware, I think if you go over to America, they quite like these lenses and they use these quite a lot. But they're
bigger fans of bifocals than varifocals in general, aren't they? So.
I mean, again, with the trifocals, in the time I've been doing this, the 5-6 years I've been doing this, I think I've only ever seen 2 of these. And again, one of them would have been one that you made, Tom, because I remember doing them with you. But the idea behind this is very similar to a bifocal, but you can cover all of your focal lengths. So you can see from the diagram here, you've got your distance at the top, your intermediate middle distance in the middle of the lens, and your near vision at the bottom of the lens. And as I say, it works very similar to a bifocal, and it helps with the condition presbyopia itself. Okay, and it's a double split segment in comparison to a bifocal, which is just the one segment there.
There is also certain because there's different types. Obviously, you can actually, you know, again, like with the bifocal, like you said, it can be tailored to your needs. So
Yes,
you don't
yeah.
necessarily need to have like distance there or intermediate there or whatever.
Exactly right. There's some really cool types of trifocals. There's one where I can't remember the name of it exactly, so I'll get back to you on that for sure. But I've got the pointer on the screen now. But you've got a segment here at the top with a clear lens in the middle or distance in the middle, with another segment here in the bottom. And
yeah,
that
generally it would be a trifocal R seg.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
R standing for round, where the segment is a circle. There we go, getting into the glazing side of this now.
That's it.
So
they work really well.
Is it train drivers or pilots that tend to use trifocals?
It's the pilots
that
you tend to use
I think
trifocals, because
they got the controls above their head as well, haven't they?
That's it. Yeah, controls in the top and bottom. So you're going to want a segment in the top or bottom, and top and bottom, I should say.
That's right.
So
and then train drivers tend to go for executives, don't they?
That's exactly right. And the executive is a bifocal, which it's not
just
the best
goes
picture
across the whole thing.
Rather than having a segment that stops somewhere in the corner of the lens, the segment runs all the way across the lens, and they're really, really cool as well. It's not going out of fashion as such, but again, you don't see quite as many of those as what
they're cool, but honestly, I think they're a bit ugly. I think if you need that sort of thing, I think what you're better off doing is getting a smaller frame and getting a bigger segment, so that when it's cut, it's actually right across the thing.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more with that one. Yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean,
because executives tend to come out pretty ugly, don't they?
Yeah, and I mean, there's optical advantages to getting an executive bifocal.
Yeah.
Sure. It depends on how much you care about the aesthetics of things, which is when I'm talking to people. I work out what you want first, and we can.
It depends. I mean, if you're sat in the cockpit of a train or whatever it's called, the driving room of the train, you might not be necessarily bothered about it looking beautiful.
Exactly right. Yeah. But that was trifocals, and essentially that's all of the lens types that we're going to discuss briefly today. So obviously single vision, varifocals, bifocals, and trifocals. Now you have got other types of lenses, but they start to become very task specific. And if we was to name everything, we'd be here all night. So I've just sort of broke it down into your main types of lenses. But if you go onto sort of different websites and that kind of thing, you'll see just how many different types of task specific lenses there are. And I mean, we can talk about that again anytime if we need to as well.
But I mean, we could maybe go and do like a short video on lenticulars sometime anyway, can't we? Like
definitely. You know? But yeah, no, that's a great idea as well. Yeah, we can definitely touch upon that at some point. But I try to keep it to the most straightforward types of lenses that I think we have at our disposal. But no, there's so many more different types that are a bit more complex. But yeah, we're more than happy to delve into at some point if the want is out there, for sure. Right, so we're going to talk about different lens materials now, and what that essentially is, of course, is just what the lenses are made of. Of course, now we've got glass lenses that we can use, and it's a material that used to be used a lot, but in recent years we can get better products, that kind of thing, and it's been overtaken a little bit by plastic in terms of the everyday lenses that you'll see in practice. The good thing about glass lenses is that they're very good. They've got great scratch resistance, and they're a little bit less expensive than plastics on the whole. Obviously, there are some exceptions to that rule, of course. But another good thing is that there's less color fringing and distortion. And dispersion, I should say, caused by these lenses. And what that means is when light hits the lens, the light itself can be broken down into its different color wavelengths, and sometimes patients and people can see almost a rainbow in effect when they put their glasses on, and that's what color fringing is. And because glass is a slightly denser material than what the plastic counterpart is, you get a little bit less of that color fringing effect from this material, which is good, which is beneficial.
You know what would be interesting? Seeing what someone with color deficiency would see through color fringing.
Yeah.
I watch our other video.
That's a shameless plug that there, Tom. That's not good. Right, moving on to plastic. As I say, this is the type of material that's sort of overpassed glass a little bit. But the good thing about the plastic lenses is that it's very light and comfortable to wear. And they are safer as well than glass on the whole, because they won't splinter if anything hits them, that kind of thing. Only problem is they can be easier scratched in comparison to glass. But again, as I say, we're always producing better lenses, and the majority of plastic lenses now will have a coating over the front, a hard coating, which helps with its scratch resistance as well. So I mean, at first plastic lenses were far easily scratched, but we've managed to produce lenses now with a lot of hard coatings over the front, which makes things just as durable as glass would have been anyway.
They actually do have better refractive power as well anyway, don't they? So you get a crisper vision through plastic lenses than you do glass, if I'm remembering correctly.
The refractive index itself of plastic, if you just take, and I should have put this into the presentation really, but of crown glass, so just unthinned glass, the refractive index of that is 1.523. Whereas with and what that means essentially is refractive index is the density of the material itself. So the refractive index of air, for example, is 1. So you've got glass, which is 1.523, which is what we call crown glass, and a regular unthinned plastic that you use for lenses, which is called CR39 plastic. The density of that, or refractive index of that, is 1.498. So it's actually slightly lower, not a huge amount, it's slightly lower. As I say, that's the unthinned sort of standard plastic material that we use, and we can go higher than that, and I will discuss that in just a minute actually. But that's your refractive index of your two standard glass and plastic lenses.
Sure.
So moving on to high index now, we just discussed briefly what the refractive index actually is, and what you'll find is we can produce lenses with a higher refractive index of material, and what you'll find is higher index materials can refract and bend light at a far higher rate, and when spectacles are dispensed with higher refractive index lenses, they come back far thinner and lighter than if they were lower down on the refractive index spectrum.
They often come with the MAR coating as well, just because the denser material can make vision less crisp. So they add the MAR as a standard. It's also UV protecting because of the density of the material as well. That's another benefit. So you sort of get a thinner lens, UV protection, and an MAR coating, like all for the
and high index is great. I mean, all of my lenses that I wear will always be high index. Silly things where you might not even think about, such as spectacle magnification and minification, and what that is where you put a higher plus powered lens in front of your eyes will look bigger if someone's looking towards you. And if you put a high-powered minus lens in front of your eyes, it makes your eyes look smaller, which is spectacle minification. If you're wearing a high-index lens, the effect of this is far less than what it would be if it wasn't thinning down those lenses. So aesthetically, it's much better as well.
So for when you get a customer, I remember this from my dispensing days. You get a customer saying like, I don't know, I'm going for my daughter's wedding or something in the next couple of weeks. That might actually be, if you want these for photograph opportunities, then it might be the case that actually it's worth just getting high index, just so that your photos don't make you look like an insect.
Also, if you work in a people-facing job as well, because it's
it looks.
As I say, my job, where I see a lot of people, that's my main concern is the way they look. So that's my reason for choosing higher index lenses every time I have specs, just because it looks a lot nicer. So you don't have to have a huge prescription for it. It's not just for people with the crazy high prescriptions. We can do it for anyone, really.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, actually, I have quite a low prescription as far as they go. I usually get 1/6s because I don't need it to be thinner, but I do like to know that even my clear glasses protect UV. And like I said before, you get the UV and you get the MAR, and I just think I might as well go to that at least. I think in future that'll probably be the sort of basic lens that everyone gets.
Oh, I think so as well, definitely. And we are going to touch upon UV and MAR in just a moment, actually. So no, that sets us up nicely for later on. The last material itself that we're going to discuss is Trivex and polycarbonate, and this is one that is probably not always obviously not going to be quite as well known as your obvious plastic and glass. And these types of materials are both very, very good for lenses that require increased durability. So if you're working in a dangerous environment, that kind of thing, this is when you're going to want to look at this type of lens itself, as they provide a far greater impact resistance and are able to absorb more impact itself without lenses cracking. And these lenses itself do have a far higher, well, not far higher, but they have a higher refractive index than just the standard plastic. So they do come out looking a little bit thinner and lighter than a standard plastic lens as well. And I'm just going to have a look at what the refractive index is. I think it's 1.58 off the top of my head. Yeah, 1.58 it says here. 1.586 to be exact. So yeah, it is going to come out a bit thinner as well. So no, they work very, very well.
Yeah, that's usually, you know, if someone gets a pair of rimless, because you got to have a denser lens for a rimless because of the drill bits going through it, it might crack. Usually you do it 1/6 as a minimum, but sometimes people get a polycarbonate because it's got the same density as the 1/6, or you know, roughly
near enough.
But it's horrible to glaze, so please don't do that to us glazers. And also it's not as crisp, it's not as nice. It is a bit cheaper, I'll grant you that, but it's not it feels almost like a cheap material. Do you get what I mean?
No, I do. I hear where you're coming from for sure. Perhaps at some point we can get two different sets of lenses together so we can actually show it in person.
The only thing I would say in the defense of Trivex, and this is something I only recently sort of discovered myself, because I'm currently working on a pair of goggles for an air cadet.
Right.
And so I recently discovered Trivex is actually it's infrared filter as well.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So basically for this air cadet, she's the only female in her squadron, and she asked if I could do a pair of goggles that look like Amelia Earhart's goggles.
Oh, right, okay.
So I've taken the style of that, and then we've got some G15 not polarizing, sorry, because that messes with the controls. G15 tin on Trivex lenses,
nice.
and basically, it's gonna protect her from UV and from
brilliant. And infrared. That's why the G15 is so good. With they've made with ferrous oxide, so it blocks out all the ultraviolet light as well as infrared light as well. Yeah, so that works.
Oh wow! Well. I didn't know that. Right, nice one.
Yeah, they work really, really well. They're really good lenses, actually.
Yeah.
So no, actually, when they come out, Tom, you have to put a picture up on post a picture up. I'd like to see that.
Oh, definitely. I'm going to be well pleased with these.
Yeah. Oh no, good. Okay, so that's in terms of lens materials, that's just about everything. Obviously, in terms of the high index, there's so many different types of high index lenses, and you can get high index plastic and glass. I probably should have made that a bit clearer. But really, in terms of the actual material of lenses itself, that just about covers everything. Really, but of course, again, any questions at all, just give us a shout. You'll find, if you are looking into high index lenses, there are so many different types. And that's quite an interesting read. If you want to read up on it, it's pretty good.
It's quite often I think you know, as the dispenser, I know you've never had a problem with this because like you as much as I've torn into you in the past, I think you have always had the way of giving everyone every option they have, and you know, I think you really came into your own being a dispenser as well. Like, but with a lot of people, I think they worry that they're going to sound like a salesperson when actually you don't need to worry about that.
No, no, yeah.
I think it's a matter of like you can't tell what the person in front of you does for their life. Only they can tell. In which case, you know, like you've got to explain these lens treatments and these lens types to them in a way that they're going to relate it to what's useful for them, sort of thing.
And I think a lot of people don't realize, as a dispenser optician, a lot of people don't realize what your job entails. It's not a salesman job at all. It is, you're an optical professional, and I would never take the option away from someone as such. So you'd never, if someone comes in, never take the option away of high index lenses, even if the prescription isn't that high. Never take the option away. I think of it as if I have my own parents or grandparents sitting down in front of me. Think of it, every patient, as if it's someone in your family, and offer them the best lenses. And of course, we don't have to do the best every time, but always give the option for it, because
the thing is as well,
we have all the technology at our disposal to create these fantastic lenses now, so we might as well show them off. So
absolutely. And the best lens for a person isn't necessarily the most expensive.
No, definitely not.
Because I remember as a dispenser, not necessarily selling them the most expensive thing, but selling them the most relevant thing.
Yeah, exactly. And that's all based upon occupation, hobbies, interests, that kind of thing. Take into account what you do in your day-to-day life, and then we can, well, this is how I work anyway in practice, take into account what you do in your day-to-day life, and I can recommend from that, which is why I tend not to recommend anything until I know the full picture as such. So no, you've hit the nail on the head there, Tom. Definitely. Right, so going into lens treatments now, this is the last part of this slideshow I've got here. Me and Tom discussed it just now, the anti-reflective coatings, also known as MAR. So if me and Tom have said MAR, that's what this lens is. And the main benefit of this, one of the main benefits of this lens itself, is to help reduce reflections from both surfaces of the spectacle lens. So if you look at the diagram I've attached here into the slide, if you've got a light shining towards you, you can see it can cause a bit of glare if you're looking towards the person wearing the lenses. If we have these lenses treated with our anti-reflection coating, it just makes things look a whole lot nicer aesthetically. And it also improves a person's visual acuity by taking the reflections away as well. So it's not just an aesthetics type thing. It also really helps the person wearing the specs as well. Things like driving is a perfect example. Screen use, anything that gives off a lot of artificial glare is very good, really. Sorry, Tom, go on.
Go on, sorry. Bit of science here. So you said like they you know, make the vision better. That actually they increase light transmittance through the lens by 8%.
Yep.
So this is also for learning lab techs here. You know, like, because I know a lot of people I've had to explain this to will check the tin, and we'll come into that in another video. They'll check the tin on a coated lens, and you know they send it back to the supplier because it's been sent with the wrong LTF, which is how we check the darkness, how much light it filters. And they'll send it back saying that it's wrong when actually it's correct. It's just that anti-reflective coating increases the amount of light going through there. So it's the correct tint. It's just not the same number, if you get what I mean.
No, exactly.
I'll go into it more at some other point. But this goes back also to what I was saying about, like, you know, if you're getting a photo at a wedding, Why get
Well,
lenses where
why
when the
have this
flash
here
of
when
the
you can have
camera
this?
goes up?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It looks so much better.
And just to be clear as well, for everyone who thinks that this is just like a photoshopped picture, yeah. Back when me and Max worked together, there was a photo taken of one of our colleagues, and it was the same. It was one photo taken of her wearing coated lenses and one where she's wearing uncoated lenses, and it's exactly the same as this. It really is. It makes that much difference.
Next time you've got the anything in your lab, in your workspace, if you can get a coated lens and a non-coated lens together, take a photo of light bouncing onto the lens, and you'll see just how much difference it really does make. So next time you have any coated and uncoated lenses coming in, just take a photo and put it up, because it really.
In fact, actually, I'll put a photo up on Instagram. If you know, just for anyone watching this, follow us on Instagram, and you can see a coated and uncoated lens.
Perfect. Yeah, amongst other things. But no, yeah, so it helps with the aesthetics of it, as well as your own visual acuity as well. What I should have said earlier, really, visual acuity is a term that we use in practice just for how well you are seeing, so what you can see. So that is improved by having this particular coating put onto the lenses. And as Tom touched upon earlier when we were talking about high index lenses, it's particularly important for those types of high index lenses. As we said, high index lenses have been known to reflect more light, so having them coated makes things a whole lot easier for the person wearing them. And as I said, it makes things look aesthetically a whole lot more pleasing as well. So that's I mean, we could talk about anti-reflective coatings all night. There's so much on it, but that's the main sort of points of what it can do. But definitely, again, there's a lot of stuff, a lot of research on this kind of thing as well, that you can look into, and we can discuss it in further detail if we need to as well. It's quite an important slide, this one here. So no, it's good. It's really good. The next one is photochromic lenses. And these lenses have got loads and loads of different names, but the sort of main name is photochromic lenses itself. And these are the lenses that will appear clear when you're indoors, but they start to darken to look like sunglasses, if you like, when they're exposed to sunlight. And these types of lenses are, well, they do protect your eyes from harmful ultraviolet radiation. And we discussed that briefly in other videos, but I have got some stuff on ultraviolet radiation as well in a minute that we can talk you through. And the photochromic lenses are available in a wide availability of colours as well. And that depends on where you get your lenses from. They'll do photochromic lenses in different colours. So that depends on where you get your spectacles from. But they're quite good for sort of variety now, these photochromic lenses. It's not just your standard sort of colours. You can get quite a lot of different types nowadays, which is good. I mean, Tom will probably know just as much as, well, probably more so, about the types of colours you can get in photochromics. But no, they're really, really good. They just add to your experience when wearing the glasses, I find. No, they're really good and give you the protection as well, which is, of course, is important.
Yeah, I think generally this is a type of lens that generally when a lot of people, myself included, wouldn't go to them, but I know for a fact if I was to wear them, I'd probably find them so useful that actually I'd end up getting them every time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't wear photochromic lenses myself either, but there's definitely a place for them, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Even being opposed to them myself, like I do know what I would say, right? If you're getting something that's only got half a rim and the bottom of its rim is missing, yeah. So a Supra.
Yeah.
I'm just saying for people who don't know, it's called a Supra. These are a more brittle lens because it's like something, there's like crystals or something to make them react, and they react when you're exposed to sunlight, but it's actually the UV of the sunlight that makes them react. So quite often they don't react in, say, newer cars because the windscreens have a UV filter.
Yes, yeah, that's it.
Stuff like that. So just it's worth, if you're thinking about getting these, just telling your dispenser a bit about your lifestyle. In fact, I mean, it's worth telling them a bit about your lifestyle in any sense, because what you don't think is significant, they might know is significant, and what they might not think to ask you, you might need.
Yeah, exactly. And you mentioned sort of the crystals and molecules and stuff in the lenses. I know that one of the molecules they use is silver chloride. I don't know the rest of it, to be honest, but it's definitely something I can type up and send over to Tommy. You can post it if people want to know about that, for sure. But no, these, as I say, these are really cool. So I don't wear these myself, but there's definitely a place for them. Again, I keep saying about how we keep updating our lenses and making things better. Photochromic lenses are no different to that as well. I mean, the change over time from going light to dark is really, really quick. But an issue with these lenses in the past was that you could walk indoors for a meeting, that kind of thing, and then you'd be sitting indoors with sunglasses for a bit because it would take you more time for them to change back to light again. But nowadays, this isn't really so much of an issue because they change back to being light again so quickly that it doesn't really give you a chance to even notice it, to be honest. So no, these are really, really good. And another lens that we've updated and made better in the not so distant years that we've had. So no, these are really, really good, as I say. And we discussed UV on the photochromic lenses, so, and it would be important to talk about just your ordinary UV 400 filters itself. Just a brief one for this, really. So when a lens is defined as being UV 400 filtered, and you'll even see this on sort of off-the-shelf sunglasses in your high street shops, that kind of thing, it just means that the lenses itself will protect your eyes from both UVA and UVB types of rays and radiation. Now, I did say this wasn't going to be a particularly sciencey talk, but I have snuck a little bit of the science into here in this next slide just to discuss UV in a little bit more detail. And there are three types of UV ray or radiation itself: UVA, UVB, and UVC. UVC is, well, it can be quite damaging. However, it doesn't actually reach the Earth because it's filtered out by the ozone layer. But some occupations can have an exposure to UVC light. People that use mercury lamps and welders, I believe, as well, can have a bit of an exposure to this. But as long as they're using the correct headgear and clothing, it protects them from the harmful damage that this type of radiation can do. The other types of radiation that we need to be a little bit more wary of in our day-to-day life is UVA and UVB. UVA can penetrate the skin, but can also have a big effect on your eye health. It can travel through the cornea and cause pathologies such as cataracts or keratitis. So this one can have an effect on your eye health, which is why you're going to want to have your UV protected lenses in sunglasses form, or an MAR coating will do the trick as well. And a UVB ray are the rays that are responsible for producing sunburn, skin cancer, that kind of thing. So as I say, I just thought I'd touch on that briefly so everyone knew what I was talking about when I mentioned UVA and UVB. There's far more information available on this online. I've just touched upon the basics of it just so we all know what I'm talking about. The next type of lens is polarized lenses, and it's a type of sunglasses lens, an enhanced sunglasses lens that gives the wearer far more comfort and clarity with their vision. And these lenses work by only actually allowing light that's traveling vertically towards the eye through the lens. So if you're looking at, for example, if you buy a lot of water, for example, that kind of thing, it just makes things a whole lot clearer. These lenses itself are actually banned in fishing competitions because it actually helps you see through the water a little bit. So in theory, if you was a fisherman in a competition or a fisher in a competition wearing these lenses, you would be, well, you'd have a bit of an advantage if you was wearing this type of sunglass lens. It can help you spot things through the water a little bit. So these are really, really cool as well.
To be clear, right, Max, absolutely downselling these, right? Because it's not just a little bit. You can see right through the water. It is incredible. I only get polarizing lenses now, yeah. I prefer brown. I've always said when I was a dispenser, yeah, out of a choice of brown or grey, I think grey makes the place look miserable. Brown makes everything look happy. And I think brown polarizing lenses, I remember going down to the rock pools and being genuinely shocked at how good they were at seeing under the water. So you looking at a surface of water and you think that it's clear, you think that you can see in the water, but then you put on the polarizing lenses and suddenly you can see all these like little shrimps or whatever they are, like scuttling about in the water in the rock pools. I always remember that time going to the rock pools and them just, they're almost like magical lenses.
Yeah, I knew you'd like this.
I'm going to show
I
you
know you're
some
a big
in
fan
a
of
coming video
polarized
as well.
lenses. Yeah, I knew you'd like this slide here in particular. I knew I didn't have to say too much. I knew you'd overtake this one because I know how much you like your polarized lenses. So no, they do. I have polarized lenses in the past as well, and they do work really, really well. I can't argue with you on that one. To be fair, Tom, they are really, really good.
I do think though that they're considerably better when they're uncoated than they are when they're coated.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. They do the trick on their own, actually, polarized lenses. I tend not to mess around with a polarized lens. They're pretty spot on when you just leave them alone and let them do their thing, for sure. But in terms of that, that's everything that we've got on lens options and treatments today. As I say, anything else that I've missed, just let us know, and we'll get straight back to you on that one there. But I hope that's been informative. I know some of it was quite basic for some people that might be watching, but I hope it's been useful to others that might not have quite as much experience in optics itself. So no, thanks. Cheers, Tom.
Thanks very much. And obviously, like the video, follow us, subscribe, whatever it is on whatever platform you're watching this, just do that. And yeah, any questions, any queries about lenses, we'll get back to you. All right.
Brilliant. Cheers, Tom.
Thanks very much.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.